Good morning, everyone. This is Erica with Aurora Heart Healing, and today I am doing another collective clearing. I think that we as a society have become closed, so closed, and it's a very sad and unfortunate thing to watch. And as this morning, yesterday, I had actually channeled a message about clearing collective competition, the spirit of competition. But this morning, I witnessed how destructive the inability to be vulnerable and talk about what you feel can be. So today, I want to do a collective clearing on vulnerability. And that was something that I just felt really drawn to. And the lack of vulnerability in this world can be so damaging. It can destroy lives. It can create isolation. It can create a sense that there's no one there for you, even when there is. So I'm going to begin. I want to start off with Brene Brown's book. Um, there's just been a lot of things that come through in her amazing book, and I am sure at some point I will be moving towards other books as well. But at this time, right now, because of how in depth the emotions are, I definitely want to bring towards this. Okay, so the first thing in the Gifts of Imperfection, I explain how perfectionism emerged from our research. The definition that best fit the data is that perfectionism is a self-destructive and addictive belief system that fuels this primary thought. If I look perfect, live perfectly, work perfectly, and do everything perfectly, I can avoid or minimize the painful feelings of shame, judgment, and blame. So that's on page 144. And I will put all of this, of course, in the description below so that you can look in and do some self-reflection. Okay. From everything that I understand about vulnerability and how the years that it has taken me to cultivate vulnerability, if I were to think everything is supposed to be happy all the time, if toxic positivity is a real thing, it is. We can think that everything is supposed to be exactly perfect at every single moment in the day. There's never supposed to be an argument. There's never supposed to be angry. There's never supposed to be hurt. There's never supposed to be pain. But in reality, that's trying to be perfect. And in this right here, it is saying that it fuels self-destructive and addictive belief systems. Self-destructive. It doesn't really talk about how it destroys everything around it, but it does, because we're holding others to an unrealistic standard of you have to be perfect. And that's just not the case. We all feel. And if we tried to be perfect at every single moment of the day, our facades would crack. Okay, I'm going to move forward. We need to know an emotion through this. And for those of you that are new to my channel, I use a pendulum to find the emotions. I have a definition of emotions that also help me identify, and I like to let you know what the feeling is. Defensiveness. Defensiveness. Defensiveness is a state of resisting attack or protecting oneself, being sensitive to the threat of criticism or injury to one's ego, being on guard against real or imagined threats to one's person, physical and or emotional. When one takes a stand of protectiveness, progression can be stalled. It just boggles my mind how when we defend ourselves, it creates the inability to be vulnerable. And then we're upset because things aren't perfect outside. And then we close down more in our vulnerability. And it's this vicious cycle. It's so self-destructive. Hurt people hurt people. Hurting people might not be able to express why they're hurting. And then what happens? They feel isolated and alone and sad and hurt. And then they lash out on others that really do care. And then, and then, and then, and then. So is there anything else we need to know about this defensiveness? Is there any other emotions that are tied to the clearing of the inability of being vulnerable? So there are more emotions. Is it here? Is it here? Is it here? Here, here, here. Heartache. So defensiveness, heartache. Anguish of mind, distress. Some people can feel an actual physical hurt in their heart from deep sorrow or loss. So we're defending ourselves from perceived pain and we're not being vulnerable. And then our heart hurts. I just want everyone here right now to think about what it is that we're working on right now and understand where it might be showing up in your own life and how this defensiveness, this heartache is actually hurting you more because you want to be perfect, but without being vulnerable, then we're unable to have real, true, genuine connection, and we're unable to be who we truly are. The next emotion is internalization. Internalization is the act of incorporating within oneself the cultural values, mores, etc. of another person or of a group through learning, socialization, identification to make subjective based on feeling, not fact. I think it's safe to say that we've all internalized the culture of it's my way or the highway. I'm going to be alone. I don't need anyone. I've been doing a class out on the tribes on some native lands for the past month. And when I was speaking to them, it was so interesting because they said, one of the women there, she said, I don't think guilt was something that we had been able to fully embody until after our lands were taken. And it struck me, and I said, what do you mean by that? How does that? And she said, because before everyone worked in community, we all had a role to play within each other's lives, and we all took care of each other. There was a place for everyone. Everyone belonged. And in this day and age, this culture, it's not that way. This culture, America, United States, I was privileged to live in, to see Central America many times in my life. And the culture is different. People belong. You can walk down the street and say hi and strike up a conversation, and you can trade and barter. You could belong somehow, some way. No matter how poor you are, no matter how rich you are, you have something to contribute. And that's huge because how many of us just want to be perfect because we think that our perfectionism is what we contribute to this world? It's not. It's our feelings. It's who we are inside. The deep, deep feelings is who we are. The more that we're able to express it, the more that we're able to feel it, the more free we are, the more connection, the more community. Internalization is us thinking that our feelings don't matter. That has been widely accepted by our social construct, but it's not the reality of who we are as human beings. This one is heavy, and I understand why it was that I was called to do this today. Rejection. The next emotion is rejection. Feeling denied, refused, or rebuffed, feels discarded as useless or unimportant, cast out, unwanted, act of forsaking. How many of us feel or have felt rejected when we were vulnerable and now say, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to open up. I don't want to. But now suffer from depression, anxiety, panic, isolation, loneliness, self-sabotage, rejection. We may feel rejected. We may have a struggle when we are trying to be vulnerable. But isn't that a part of life? If we aren't feeling, are we really living to its fullest capacity, to our fullest capacity to live? I know what it's like to be numb. I know what it's like to live in a life that I was never vulnerable with people. I wouldn't even tell anyone how I felt. And as sometimes painful as it is to feel all of these feelings and to be genuinely expressing this, I would never go back to being numb again. It's even more painful. It's like living with cuts on my skin every single day because I was so isolated and alone. And if you feel that way, I feel for you. And I know it takes a lot of courage to take those first steps to say, this is what I'm feeling. This is what's happening. This is what I've been thinking about. This is where I'm scared. This is what fearful is. We're not perfect, but we are. We are perfect. Your feelings, what you feel is perfect for you. As long as you understand how to navigate them, you can find something so pure, so amazing, so beautiful within you. And that's acceptance of all of it. I will tell you, I used to be suicidal. I used to think, what if I were to just hit this wall going 100 miles an hour? Would it kill me? And it was because I was so scared to tell anyone how I felt, what I thought, that I just didn't want to keep going. The more that I was able to understand myself, understand what I felt, what feelings were driving me, and share it, the more empowered I became, the more empowered I am. Because all of these feelings, I felt them too. And if you're watching this video and you're feeling these feelings, you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm a healer. And I help people heal these deep wounds that collectively we're feeling. Because if you feel this in your body right now, it's because you've experienced it and you watch it throughout the world and throughout yourself. Is there any other emotions? Is it on here? Unloved. The feeling or belief that one is not loved or cared for. One is no longer the object of someone's affection. A child deprived of love grows up feeling insecure and inadequate, either withdrawing from relationships or retaliating, unable to give or receive love. To love and to be loved is one of the greatest human needs. Love is union with somebody or something outside of oneself under the condition of retaining the separateness and the integrity of one's own self. It is an experience of sharing, of communion, which permits the full unfolding of one's inner activity. Paradoxically, caring deeply for something outside of oneself is one of the most gratifying and self-fulfilling of human experiences. When we are unable to be vulnerable, we constantly are withdrawing. Vulnerability means, look at me, I'm here. It means right now I'm hurting. I feel pain, and it is okay to share it with you. Feeling unloved is something hard. It is something so painful. And no one should feel like that. But what if we closed ourselves off? We create more unloved feelings. We're more unloved because we didn't love ourselves to share, to say this hurts and I want someone to share this with. And I don't think one person watching this video is telling me, don't cry. Why are you saying this? And if you are, it's because there's a resistance inside you that resonates with all of what I'm saying. Feeling unloved is to feel not cared for. And when we're vulnerable with someone that is ready to accept that vulnerability, we are loved. We are comforted. We are cared for. We are met with compassion, love, grace, understanding. We are met with love. Love. Is there anything else we need to know in this collective healing? Is there anything else, any messages that you would like me to share? Okay. Are we complete? We are complete. Today, And every day, I choose to show up vulnerable. I'm not going to edit out my tears because I've lived my life for too long not sharing how I feel. And enough is enough. And I hope that today you stand up with that too, because sometimes it'll be hard to talk about the way that you feel and to share your genuine expression of who you are. And some people might not accept it, but do you? Do you accept it? That's the most important part of all of it, is do you accept your feelings? Because the moment that you say, this is what I feel, this is what I need, you are tending to that unloved kid inside that grew up with feeling insecure and inadequate. The moment that you say, I want to share this, pain shared is pain divided. You have divided your pain, be it a group, be it therapy, be it whatever, but you have stepped into your grace, into your love, into your divinity, into God's presence, because God forgives all. We don't have to be perfect to be loved. I had to learn that the hard way. We do not have to be perfect to be loved. We just have to show up for ourselves. And if that means telling someone, you're hurting me, and that person may or may not accept it, but I accept it and I validate it, then I've been able to move forward in who I am and healing myself through vulnerability, through love, through understanding, through grace. I am praying for every one of you watching this, seeing this. I pray for you, for your love, for love for yourself, for the ability to become just a little bit more vulnerable, 1 centimeter more vulnerable each day will be miles, miles and miles of a difference in a year, 2 years. You can do it. I'm here for you too. We don't have to do this alone. We were sold a lie that we have to be perfect, that we can't tell people how we feel, that it's unsafe. Find those safe people. I pray and I hope that you always see me as one of them. I love you all. I love every single one of you, regardless of what that looks like. If you've hurt me, I understand because I've hurt people too. If you've never met me, I love you because I don't know what you've gone through, but I do know if you're angry, hurt, frustrated, heartbroken, there's a pain inside you that you've not been able to share. And if you decide to come and be a client, I hope you know that I'm a safe space for you to share. And energetically, we will clear this. Feel it to heal it, friends.